Good evening, friends. I want to start with a question that's simple but not easy. What's the value of something you don't post, don't say, and don't share? We live in a world that worships visibility. Every moment seems to demand an audience. Every opinion, every success, every new chapter, documented, curated, posted. But let me offer you a different lens. The most powerful parts of your life are often the ones no one knows about. That's not a contradiction, that's wisdom, because smart people, truly wise, deeply impactful people, understand something the world is only beginning to remember. Privacy isn't secrecy, it's sovereignty. It's the ability to own your story instead of handing it over to the crowd. Let me show you what I mean. Smart people never share their next move. Until it's already made. We've all heard the phrase move in silence, but few understand why it matters. See, when you share your plans too early, before they're real, before they've been tested in fire, you open the door to doubt, distraction, and derailment. Smart people know that your dreams are sacred, and like anything sacred, they need protection in their early stages. A seed doesn't need sunlight on day one. It needs darkness, soil, and time. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to rise suddenly, why their success feels like it came out of nowhere, it's not because they weren't working. It's because they were working when no one was watching. The ones who build quietly, who grind privately, who protect their energy, those are the ones who create things that last. So if you're building something, don't broadcast it. Build it, strengthen it, then reveal it when it's unshakable. That's not hiding, that's strategy. Smart people don't share their personal struggles with everyone. Only with the right someone, let me be clear. Vulnerability is powerful. But vulnerability without discernment is self-sabotage. We live in an age where people confuse exposure with authenticity. But not every wound is ready for display, and not every audience deserves access to your healing. Smart people understand that your most intimate challenges deserve wise counsel, not wide distribution. When you're hurting, you don't need a comment section. You need a conversation. When you're processing grief or betrayal or confusion, you don't need applause or pity. You need someone who's earned the right to hear your pain, so they choose carefully. They don't weaponize their wounds for attention. They don't perform their pain. They seek real connection, trusted mentors, loyal friends, inner circles that listen to understand, not just to respond. And because of that, they heal deeper. They grow stronger. And when they do share their stories, it's not from a place of rawness. It's from a place of redemption. Smart people never share everything they know, because influence isn't about noise, it's about timing. Let's talk about something that's often misunderstood. Silence can be a form of leadership. We're taught to speak up, to be bold, to take the stage. And yes, there are times to raise your voice, but smart people know that not every insight needs to be shared in the moment it's discovered. They understand that wisdom isn't just what you say, it's when you say it. They listen longer, they observe more, they wait, because they're not trying to win arguments. They're trying to build movements. They're not interested in being right. They're invested in being effective. So they speak with precision, with purpose, and often with delay. Not to withhold, but to deepen impact. And when they speak, people listen. Not because they're loud, but because their silence meant something. Privacy is power. Let me ask you something. Who are you when no one's looking? That's the truest version of you. That's the place where your convictions are forged. That's the space where you become who you were meant to be. And the smartest people, the most resilient, impactful, inspiring people I know, guard that space like their life depends on it. Because in many ways it does. They don't overshare. They don't overexpose. They don't confuse transparency with giving away their power. They know the difference between being seen and being understood. And they choose depth over display, integrity over impression, roots over recognition. So let me leave you with this. You don't have to tell the world everything to change it. You don't have to prove your worth by making your life public, and you don't have to fear silence. It might just be the sound of your growth. Privacy is not retreat. It's not shame. It's not weakness. Privacy is your protection, your preparation, your power. So keep some things for yourself. Guard the sacred, grow in the dark, and when it's time, step into the light, not because you need to be seen, but because you're ready to lead. In a world obsessed with visibility, It can feel counterintuitive to keep our plans to ourselves. We're encouraged to announce our goals, post about our projects, and invite validation as we build. But those who consistently succeed, those who create lasting impact, understand a deeper truth: not everything is meant to be shared before it's time. Smart people protect their plans until they're fully formed, not because they're secretive, but because they're strategic. They know that early exposure can weaken what should be strong. When we talk too soon about our intentions, whether it's starting a business, making a career move, or launching a creative idea, we open the door to influence from people who haven't earned the right to shape our direction. Opinions, doubts, projections, they all flood in. Even well-meaning friends can unintentionally sow seeds of hesitation. What starts as excitement can quickly turn into second-guessing. The dream becomes diluted. There's also a psychological cost. Studies have shown that announcing a goal can trigger a premature sense of accomplishment. When we tell others about our intentions, we often receive praise just for the ambition, and our brains feel rewarded even before any real work is done. That sense of reward can reduce motivation, the momentum slows, the energy diffuses. In short, we talk ourselves out of the very thing we were once committed to pursuing. Smart people understand this dynamic deeply. They operate with quiet intensity. They build in silence not because they're hiding, but because they're honoring the process. They give their ideas the privacy to mature, to evolve, to fail and begin again without an audience watching every misstep. They understand that early growth is fragile, like a seed that needs darkness, soil, and time before it can break through to the surface. This doesn't mean they isolate themselves. On the contrary, they may have a tight inner circle, mentors, collaborators, confidants, who support them behind the scenes, but they are intentional about who they invite into the process. They don't seek applause before results. They seek clarity, alignment, and progress. And when they do finally reveal what they've been working on, it's not an announcement, it's a demonstration. The move has already been made. The foundation is already laid. There is no need for validation, only execution. The result is often seen as overnight success, but it's anything but. It's the product of time spent in quiet preparation. Keeping your next move to yourself isn't about being mysterious. It's about being wise. It's about giving yourself the space to grow without interference, to experiment without judgment, and to finish what you started before anyone else even knows you began. That's not just privacy. That's power. We live in an age where oversharing is often mistaken for authenticity. Social media rewards exposure. Pain becomes content. Vulnerability becomes currency. But for those who are truly wise, those who value growth over attention, there's a critical distinction. You don't have to tell everyone everything to be real. In fact, smart people know that the deepest parts of their lives should only be shared with those who have earned the right to hear them. When life gets hard, and it will, we all seek connection. We want to be seen, understood, and supported, but not everyone can offer that kind of support. Not everyone knows how to hold space for your pain without projecting their own fears onto it. Some people listen only to respond. Others take your vulnerability and use it as gossip fuel. Still others may offer advice that's rooted in their limitations, not your potential. And in the wrong hands, your personal struggles can be misunderstood, minimized, or worse, weaponized. That's why smart people are discerning. They understand that being vulnerable is not the same as being unfiltered. Vulnerability is powerful, but only when it's protected. It's not about how many people you share with, it's about who you share with. The wise don't vent to everyone. They process privately, reflect intentionally, and reach out purposefully. They have a circle, a therapist, a trusted friend, a mentor, who can walk with them through the hard moments, not just watch from the sidelines. This discernment isn't about pride or hiding. It's about healing, because not every wound is ready for public view. Some things need time to make sense. Some emotions need to settle before they can be expressed clearly. If you speak from the middle of the storm, you may only echo the chaos, But if you wait, if you process, heal, and understand, you can speak from clarity, and that's when your story has the power to help others. Smart people resist the temptation to post their pain in real time. They don't look for sympathy on the timeline. They seek substance in private. They're not trying to impress with their transparency. They're trying to grow through their experience. And when they do share, it's from a place of strength, not desperation. They tell the story when it can serve, not when it still stings. It's not always easy. In a world where everyone seems to be talking, silence can feel lonely. But wisdom knows the difference between isolation and intentional privacy. Silence isn't weakness, it's space. It's room to breathe, reflect, and choose your response instead of reacting impulsively. At the core of it, smart people understand that their emotional life is sacred, and sacred things aren't broadcast. They're protected. They don't perform their struggles, they process them. They don't seek an audience. They seek alignment, and because of that, they heal deeper, love better, and lead stronger. Privacy in pain isn't withdrawal, it's wisdom. It's how smart people honor their journey and grow with dignity. We often assume that the more we know, the more we should say. That knowledge, once acquired, demands to be shared immediately, widely, and without reservation. But truly smart people understand something different, something more nuanced and far more powerful. Influence isn't about how much you say, but when you say it. Timing, not volume, is what gives words their weight. And so, smart people don't feel the need to reveal everything they know. This isn't about being manipulative or withholding value. It's about restraint and intention. Smart people recognize that not every insight is meant for every moment. Sometimes, the best thing you can do with your knowledge is wait. Wait until the room is ready to receive it. Wait until emotions have cooled, perspectives have expanded, or the situation calls for it. Because when you speak out of alignment with timing, even the best wisdom can fall flat, or worse, backfire. In many cases, people talk to prove they're right. Smart people don't have that need. They're not driven by ego, but by impact. They measure the moment. They observe the room. They understand that silence is not a void to be filled. It's a tool to be used. Where others rush to dominate the conversation, they wait, listen, and speak only when it matters most. Think about the great leaders, mentors, and thinkers you've encountered. Often, they're not the ones who speak constantly. They're the ones who speak strategically. When they do open their mouths, people lean in, because their words carry intention, not noise. Their insights come not from a need to impress, but a desire to elevate. Smart people also understand that some truths are better demonstrated than discussed. They know that leading by example often teaches more than a lecture ever could. Instead of constantly dispensing advice, they live it. Instead of showing off knowledge, they embody wisdom. They let their actions set the tone and let their silence speak volumes. And in doing so, they create trust. Because when they finally do speak, others know it's worth hearing. There's also a level of humility at play. Truly intelligent individuals know they don't have to be the smartest person in the room. They don't chase credit or compete to be heard. In fact, they often elevate others by leaving space for them to speak, learn, and grow. Their restraint isn't about holding back, it's about creating room for better conversations, richer dialogue, and deeper understanding. And sometimes the silence is for themselves. Smart people use silence to process, to reflect, to refine their thinking. They're not afraid to sit with uncertainty or complexity. They don't need to offer a quick opinion just to stay relevant. They trust that when the right time comes, they'll speak, and their words will matter. In a world full of noise, the one who waits to speak often holds the most influence, not because they know more, but because they know when their voice will truly make a difference. Privacy is often misunderstood in today's hyper-connected world. It's seen as secrecy or even as something to be suspicious of. But smart people see privacy differently, not as a hiding place but as a source of strength. For them, privacy is not about withdrawal. It's about maintaining control over their inner world in a culture that constantly demands access. When you choose privacy, you're not saying, "I have something to hide." You're saying, "I have something to protect." Your values, your peace, your direction. Smart people don't make everything public because they understand that not all parts of life are meant for display. Some moments, decisions, and relationships need space to unfold away from judgment, noise, or the pressure to explain themselves. This isn't about fear, it's about focus. Constant visibility invites constant interruption. When your life is too exposed, it becomes reactive. You start shaping your path based on external opinions instead of internal conviction. Smart people guard against that by keeping the most meaningful parts of their life private. Their dreams, their relationships, their growth. They protect these things not out of ego, but out of respect. And in doing so, they cultivate clarity, peace, purpose. Privacy gives them room to think deeply, act deliberately, and lead authentically. Because they're not performing, they're just living. Ultimately, privacy is not a barrier to connection. It's a foundation for it. When you know who you are apart from the noise, you show up more powerfully in every area of life. That's what smart people know. The more you honor your private world, the stronger your public impact becomes.